It's time for today's face-off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams, ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Try to be more respectful with me. I'm going to respect you the same way.
Well, then let me. You see, I'm going to.
No, you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. So give me your keys right now. If you're going to go that route.
Give me my paperwork here.
No, don't touch me. Don't
Give me
like that.
Give me my paperwork. Get this on camera. This
Dave,
I am a foot away from DMV.
Keep your distance.
You are.
Now you've been to me.
You are. I'm trying to get to the DMV. I showed you all. Let me start recording. You're dumb.
Hey, what's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm trying to get to DMV to register my cars.
Okay.
I got all the paperwork and everything there. I asked the officer, could I just go over here or even park my car so that I could walk over there and get all my paperwork together. He says he wants to tow my car.
All right, give me a second. Let me find out what's going on here, and then we'll figure something out, okay?
Okay.
So, as a police sergeant, we're not going to tow your vehicle, but you're receiving summonses. These are keys? These are keys?
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
All right, Quano, that was Hudson County, New Jersey. Ice-T, a New Jersey resident, a famous rapper, also led the punk rock band that famously sang the song F the Police in the early 90s. Longtime portrayer or actor, played a police officer on Law and Order. I thought it was pretty convenient editing that it began with the officer demanding him get out of the car and cut off, which it is available out there, and cut off all the incredible rudeness that Ice-T was delivering to the officer who was just writing him a ticket. Let's talk about the ticket. It was an expired tag ticket. That was it. When I was an officer, that's all I wrote, right? Because if you looked at tags, and back then you would have the registration and the inspection on the window here in Texas, people would have both of those expired, would often have no license and no insurance, right? So you knock out 4 tickets, be done. It did turn out that Ice-T had some issues elsewhere other than the tags. He's driving what appeared to be a Porsche 911 GT3, a couple $100,000 vehicle, but he didn't have any of his business straightened out. And instead of being nice to the officer, which you don't have to be, right? You can be rude as you want to the police. You have the constitutional right, but the officer also has the discretionary right to cut you a break or not. It is very clear that Ice-T felt like he was entitled because he was rich and famous to speak to this officer of color about however he wanted and not have a consequence. The only 2 people I blame in this circumstance are Ice-T for his abhorrent behavior, right? Because let me tell you something, if I was holding paperwork when I was an officer and someone reached to grab it and touched me, I'd have just turned around and arrested him at that point.
He didn't touch him.
He said, don't touch me.
He didn't touch him at all.
But he reached out and tried.
He tried to grab the paperwork.
But you're not entitled to grab the paperwork. That's obstruction, right? The only people I blame here is him. In another part of the video that we didn't show, the sergeant comes down and basically kisses up to Ice-T and says, well, I'll try to convince him. Ice-T's behavior, which was completely uncalled for, he was in the wrong. His tags were expired. His license was janked up. He was not handling his business. He got caught, and he could have simply got a ticket and been back on down the road being famous and rich, called his lawyer that he undoubtedly has and says, hey, lawyer, take care of this for me, and it all been fine. Instead, he decided to call him a bunch of names, be rude, and then also expect to be given a break. And it ended with the officer saying, hey, just show some respect next time. And Ice-T appropriately said, I don't have to. And of course, you don't have to. But if you don't expect to get favors. Don't expect to not be given tickets when you're clearly breaking the damn law.
Ice-T was right when he said, I don't have to show respect to a cop that's being disrespectful to me. When Ice-T was stopped, 1 second, when he was stopped, he showed him, look, I'm going right across the street to the DMV. Here's all my paperwork. The reason why I'm in this parking lot is so I can go right across the street to the DMV and renew all of these tags and get everything up to date, not take my rich black behind down the street like you tried to just say. He was going right across the street. And so instead of the cop saying, you know what, man, it's right across the street. I see where you're going. I see your paperwork. Go on about your business, sir. Take care of your business. No.
Why are you lying?
That's exactly.
Just because Ice-T's black? Just because you share a skin color, you're lying?
He was going across the street, Charles.
He was just a star effort.
Charles.
You're just because he's famous?
And also, what I did not like was this. He says, give me your keys. Now, what was the reason to ask
Ice-T was
give me
being
your
rude
keys?
to him.
To give him his keys, so you take my keys.
Okay, that's why.
So you take my keys.
You know what? That's why this
he
was
didn't
edited.
need the man
This
damn
was
keys.
edited
No, what it
to
was.
Make the cop look
you had
bad.
a broke cop who wished he could drive a Porsche.
That's not true at all.
You had a broke cop who wanted to see what it felt like to hold some Porsche keys. That's exactly what it was.
Okay.
And what it was, who does this nigga think he is talking to me
He
like
was a
this?
person of color.
That's what he was saying. Let me tell you something. I've met many Hispanic cops who don't realize they're Hispanic anymore. They think they're white people.
What a horrible thing
And so
to
they
say.
just as racist, some
What
of
a
them,
horrible thing to
as
say.
these white boy cops are.
Okay.
I've watched Hispanic cops treat other Latino people like they're trash because they forget where they come from. So let me tell you something, brother.
None of
the
that
man
happened.
was going right across the street.
That happened.
He going right across the street. Let the man go on about his business.
Okay, they were long expired. He had licensing issues, but more importantly, you're completely misread. And this is why editors and producers cut off that stuff to make cops look bad. Immediately, he felt entitled to say, well, I'm going there, you gotta let me go. And the officer instead was finishing his traffic stop, being a professional, doing his job, and Ice-T went off on him. And after he went off on him, the officer said, okay, well, take your keys out, give them to me, get out of the car. He didn't curse him.
He didn't say that. He said, since you want to be disrespectful, give me your keys.
Well, he was being
Since you want to be disrespectful,
he was cursing
He was
him
being
out.
spiteful.
No.
He was being spiteful.
No.
Since you're being disrespectful, give me your keys.
You think it's
he was being spiteful.
Okay, so someone should be able to, when you're doing your job correctly, might I add, and someone starts cursing you out, some rich famous person.
After the man showed you all the paperwork and say, I'm going right across the street.
It doesn't matter. You finish your traffic stop.
I'm going right across the street.
If your license is
I got all the paperwork
to
show you I'm going right across the street to take care of this matter. But no, you know what you got to do?
Arrest him.
Now I'm going to tell you what it is.
That's what he should have did.
It's what you said earlier when you was a cop. See, you pull somebody over for that one thing, and maybe they got some other stuff that you can write tickets for. It's a quota system.
No, I'll tell you. You want me to explain it?
Out here writing tickets because it's a city communal hustle. That's what it is. It's a county hustle.
No.
It's a city hustle. And you was a leading hustler for the police department, writing them damn tickets. And I got 4 in one traffic stop. That's exactly what you said. Yeah, you was hustling too for them damn cops.
Do you want me to explain it?
Looking for that big bonus.
Do you want me to explain it?
That Christmas check.
You didn't get any bonus
that Thanksgiving Christmas check.
You didn't get an extra check for writing tickets.
I knock out 4 in one stop. Look at you.
Let me explain why. Okay, I didn't like hassling regular people. You know, people
that ain't what it
speed
sound
on.
like.
Let me finish. People speed on their way to work. People don't use their blinker 50 feet in advance. Cops stop people. A lot of cops I knew would stop people for absolute nonsense and ruin people's days. Right? If I pulled you over and your stickers were bad, but you had your license and your insurance, mind you. He didn't have his license correct, right? If you had your license and insurance, I would always let people go. It was a good reason for a valid stop because there are so many people, and it's worse today, that are driving around in Houston with no driver's license and no insurance, and they're wrecking into poor people's cars, right, who only have liability, and they're destroying people's lives. So when I would pull somebody over, if you were nice and you had your driver's license and insurance, I'd cut you loose. But if you're some scumbag riding around dirty with no insurance, ruining people's lives, then you know what? You get a ticket.
I got a question.
Yep.
Where in the United States Constitution that says I have to register my vehicle with the state?
Well, there's something.
Where in the Constitution that says you got to have auto insurance in that state? Show me where it's in the Constitution.
Hold on. Let me respond to your argument.
Because it ain't in the Constitution. It's unconstitutional.
Where in the
it's exploitation of poor people and exploitation of the citizens and make a tax dollar off of it.
Where does it say in the Constitution you can't molest kids? Where does it say in the Constitution you can't murder people? Right? When you
and I
drive
both
around,
know that registration is not constitutional. It's really unlawful. Insurance really is unlawful. It's a hustle. Because the insurance lobbyists lobby state legislative bodies to make it a law to make more money and donate to police officer organizations and donate to politicians.
That's not true.
It's the insurance lobby that got them laws passed.
I guess you've never been hit by an uninsured person when you didn't have money to fix your car and have your life ruined.
That's not the issue
because
here.
I've known tons of people that happen. It happens every day in Houston. We have a hit and run epidemic by a bunch of unlicensed, uninsured
Your duty is to insure
scumbags.
yourself. No. But listen to me, man. You got people out here damn near homeless who can't afford insurance.
Then they shouldn't be driving cars.
Now they're punished. Now they're punished for being what?
They're punished for what? If you wreck someone's car,
they're punished for being poor.
You're as punished as the people driving to work.
So now you're saying
that pay their bills and they have their car ruined because it is a privilege. Because some scumbag with no insurance ruined. It's not supposed to be a right. It's a privilege. And if you're driving a car, you got to keep your insurance.
When you ride the toll, you pay for the toll.
We know who
the taxpayers
run no insurance.
But the taxpayers pay for the damn toll.
No, they don't.
But we got to pay the ride on it. Okay. Then they lie to the people.
Why are you talking about
we took
toll?
a private
That has nothing to do with that.
Because they've been robbing the citizens,
Let's talk about people without insurance,
them damn
ruining
tickets,
hard-working people's
them damn
lives.
Tickets, and you cops
no Personal Responsibility Act.
No, stop the county from hustling.
Oh, she's trying to run.
Get in the car.
Oh, she gone. Free look.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, we were watching a video just now of two young African-American women in Beaumont, Texas, who were encountered by a law enforcement officer and asked them to, quote unquote, according to him in this report, for them to leave, and they refused to leave and they were not compliant, allegedly. So you see one young woman, she walk off as he's handcuffing the other. She gets in a vehicle and he went in the vehicle, then begins to chase after the vehicle. The cop chases after the vehicle as she's pulling off. Then he makes a Dukes of Hazzard WW off the top rope jump move and jumps into the back seat of the car like he's a circus actor. And then she drives off and he falls off the vehicle. He hits his head allegedly and he's hurt now. And two young brothers who were out there stopped filming it and gave him immediate assistance on the spot. But that officer was absolutely reckless in his conduct. That was not a felony arrest he was making. That's not a felony arrest. That was a simple misdemeanor trespass arrest that he was making. But yet he put his life on the line doing a circus Dukes of Hazzard move, jumping into the back seat while she's behind the wheel. Absolute madness, and that is not what I believe cops are taught to do to make a traffic stop or an arrest, especially one that's not a felony traffic stop. That's one. But now I'm gonna tell you what's even dirty about this case. That young woman was wrong for pulling off. Yes, you should have stayed there and dealt with it. Now you turn a BS misdemeanor into a serious penitentiary charge now because you pulled off and the officer's injured. That was a bad choice on her part, but they have been vindictive in this case. The other young woman, well, the one who drove off, she got a $250,000 bond, a $2,500 bond for evading arrest, $30,000 bond, 3 bonds she was given. But now the other young woman, who never had anything to do with the vehicle pulling off, she got 3 bonds too. Look at her bonds. Her bonds now, $150,000 for felony assault. Who in the hell did she assault? She had nothing to do with that traffic stop. She had nothing to do with him making that arrest. In fact, she was already under arrest in police custody when he chased the vehicle and jumped in the back of it and fell out of it. But then they charged her, check this out, $2,500 for resisting arrest. All right, $1,500 for interfering with the public duties. Okay, fine. But how in the hell are you gonna charge her with felony assault? She had nothing to do with the young woman pulling off or staying in that vehicle. She had nothing to do with the reckless decision of that cop to jump in the back of that vehicle. That just goes to show you how they're using the court system to punish a young woman who had nothing to do with the officer being injured.
Okay, so I will break this down and try to give you a more coherent explanation. Firstly, we have not seen any video, whether body cam or bystander video or parking lot video of what occurred before the beginning of this incident. So we don't know if the extent of the resisting or the interference or the assault, right? And if videos emerge and she did not assault the officer, then I would agree with you that that was a punitive bond and it was ridiculous. Conversely, if videos show that she did assault the officer when she was refusing to comply, then it's a valid charge. So I don't think we can assume. But what we do know is that those two women were involved in a drunken disturbance, and the officer was sent there to deal with the disturbance, right? We do know from the beginning of the video that they seem agitated. He is acting very calmly, but if he is, and it appears, and if we see further video, that he was telling the woman to stop, the one who got in the car. He's arrested the one, he's put her in his car, which means he cannot chase her. He cannot get in that car and give chase, because you can't chase someone with a passenger in the vehicle, with a detainee in the vehicle. Now, he is telling the woman to stop, and she is taking off. He is under the impression that she is intoxicated. So if she is intoxicated and driving her little Mustang convertible sports car, she is posing a danger to everyone else on the road, right? And the fact is, you probably haven't seen it, but I have seen dead bodies from DWI accidents. So he has an affirmative obligation to stop her. He is trying to stop her, right? She knows he is trying to stop her. And instead, she decides to take off. He falls down, cracks his head, is seriously injured. And because he's a white man and they're black women, you're sitting on TV talking about how awful he is, who is a victim, and justifying
now, you a former
their
cop.
behavior.
You a former cop. Were you taught to do what he did?
I think you were taught to, yes.
You were taught to do what he did. You a damn liar, Charles. And you will lie for them cops
I'm not
for
lying.
any reason. You and I both know. If he thought she was drunk, where's the DWI charge? Where's the DUI charge here? There is not one.
Yes,
she was not charged with driving while intoxicated.
Yeah, she was.
That's the concocted scheme that he put in place to justify trying to jump in the back of that goddamn car, Charles. That man was wrong.
Okay, you're way off
He
base.
put his whole life in danger over nothing.
You want me to explain? The intoxication assault charge is a DWI with a significant injury. That's intoxication assault. That's her most serious charge.
With no field sobriety test?
You're just spewing nonsense. How do you know?
For the sake of transparency, because I've talked to both families.
How do you don't know?
Because I've talked to both families.
And if we get
for the sake of transparency, let's keep this real.
If we get blood alcohol back.
Dr. Matthews and I have talked to both families.
Okay, so they weren't drinking?
So now let's be honest here. Let me share something else with you.
They weren't drinking?
Let me share something else with you.
They weren't drinking?
Charles.
Y'all know he ain't answering the question.
Charles.
They weren't drinking, Quanell.
Charles. They were being arrested for trespass.
Okay, there was a disturbance. There was a disturbance. They refused to leave.
At hand
That's
was
criminal
trespassing.
No,
he asked them to leave. He asked them to leave,
trespass.
and they would not leave.
Right, because they were
he
drunk.
asked them to.
Because they were drunk and
Charles,
being obnoxious.
There was no call for DWI, driving intoxicated. There was no call
because she wasn't in the car then.
So Charles,
she was drunk at the
justified
club.
him running up to the car and diving
because he was under the impression that she was intoxicated. He told
you
him
and
to
I
stop.
both know that was crazy as hell,
I will
Charles.
tell you what I would have done is I'd have just got on the radio and said, hey, here's the license plate. Stop this car. Is there any unit near? But I would have felt horrible had she drove in, gotten in a wreck, and killed some family coming home from Chick-fil-A or wherever over there on Phelan Street. The thing is, you can't justify their behavior because their behavior was monstrous. You said she wasn't charged with DWI. Actually, she was.
Who is their behavior?
The two women. Their behavior was monstrous.
The woman who stayed at the vehicle, who was arrested.
Well, we didn't see what happened before that.
And put in the back seat. How are you calling her behavior monstrous?
Well, because they're alleging, and I said it in the beginning.
So she's a monster?
I said at the beginning, if she did not assault the cop and she didn't resist the cop and we don't have anything to support it, then it's wrong, right? But let's say this, right? Why is the video cut off right there? Why does it emerge right there? Why does the woman take off? Right, clearly.
And I said she was wrong for taking off.
Okay.
She should have stayed.
Because
if you watch the video,
oh, she's wrong for taking off. But
she can't say
this public servant
she did not know. I'm gonna tell you why. And
okay.
I said this to them, because when he jumps in the vehicle, you see his foot. He kicks in the head. He actually kicks in the head when he jumps in the car. And she does like this and pulls off.
Well, she claiming she didn't hear him. She didn't know. He's calling at her the whole time. She's running off.
Let me say this, Charles. She should have stayed.
Of course.
Because you turned a simple misdemeanor into now a penitentiary charge.
Right.
But I believe, Charles, his behavior was reckless.
Hey, if he was trying to stop someone he believed was a drunk driver from posing a danger to the citizens of the city he's charged with protecting,
now, let me say
this. It was, you know what? He was going above and beyond.
Watch the video. He never hit his head.
He was going above and beyond.
Watch the video. He never hit his head. When he fell, he never hit his head.
You think he just lied out there and knocked
watch
out
the video,
just for fun and games?
Charles.
You think it was all for show?
Charles, he got that workman's comp check in his brain now.
Oh, come on.
Lay it out.
Well, why are you don't know him. You're making assumptions because he's a white man.
Watch the video.
Come on, Carter. Come on.
Charles. Ladies and gentlemen, we have known for a long time that police officers have mandatory quotas in many police departments, city and county, of how many tickets that they write. In fact, there have been cases that police officers have been disciplined because they didn't write enough tickets. What they're not sharing with the public is police officers writing tickets is nothing more than a revenue scheme for the city and a revenue scheme for the county. People would be shocked and be amazed at how much money is coming in, especially in inner city communities where poor people, black and brown people live, and poor whites that are financing these cities' revenue treasures with these traffic tickets. We need better policing, and even the Department of Justice use Ferguson and other departments as facts about these revenue schemes with tickets.
Let's talk about truth, right? The officer initially asked him with Ice-T, he asked him when his appointment was that he had allegedly missed the day before and said, hey, just show me proof of that. The officer was being completely professional. And then Ice-T, well, I didn't have an appointment. I didn't know you needed one. They know me there, right? Ice-T had multiple issues, right? He had issues with the registration, but he also had licensing issues and other issues. That's why he got 4 tickets. But at the end of the day, Ice-T, if you go find the whole video, because the truth matters, right? He began with aggression. He began with a sense of entitlement, suggesting that he didn't have to follow the rules because he was rich and famous. It was 2 people of color. Quanell always wants to reduce things to bigotry, but when you pull someone over that doesn't have any of their paperwork, are there cities that balance their budgets with the regressive citation tax? Of course they do. That's not what happened here. Ice-T's behavior was scummy, and so was those women in Beaumont. We have to be better.
That's it for the Face Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.